Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I am back. It is the Tank Commander once again. I know you're probably wondering why I'm still wearing a Santa hat. Well, it's still December and Christmas just passed a couple days ago. It is currently Saturday, December 28th, 2019, which means that, yes, as I did say, it is the 20-day mark until our cruise.
Oh, that's real nice.
Now, I have to be careful because my ears are still in a fair amount of, I don't want to say pain, but not feeling the best. But because it is time for another pre-cruise vlog, I have decided that we're going to do a little bit of a series now. And every time from now until the end of the until the day before the cruise, I should say, I decided to come up with a very special little series called, I kind of find it funny that I haven't really thought of it, but basically it's a series showing probably the most obsolete, useless, and pathetic tanks of the Second World War.
You what?
Now, just to clarify before I say that, by pathetic, useless, and obsolete, I mean those that were either in or near the combat zone, and whether they were used or not, all depends. So today we have my little information here, and we are going to start with two tanks today. And the first one is actually a little model that I got for Christmas. So here it is. For anybody who is wondering what this little tank is, this is known as the T-37 or T-38. They're technically the same tank. They were a tank that was designed in 1933 when they were put into service. Now, clarification. Alright, just to clarify. The classification of T and the designation number does not classify it as the T as for tank and the year that it was designed or put into service. That's entirely not true. So as you hear, T-37 or T-38, this originally came out in 1933 when it entered service. So just to get that out of the way. So now the T-37 and T-38, what exactly was this? This tank was basically designed off of the British Carden-Loyd tankette. Now, what a tankette basically is, it's a very small vehicle with usually only 2 crew members that can usually only carry up to a small-sized autocannon. And as you can see with the T-38 here, it only has a single gun in the turret, which is a 7.62 millimeter machine gun. Now, what you should also know is, if you look on the back, you see that. That is a propeller. This tank is amphibious. Now, everybody knows that amphibious tanks were very tricky to manufacture because problem is, when you want something to float, you have to have a buoyancy level that will make sure that it will float. However, they also have to compromise with the type of armament that they wish to put on the tank, and this was the limitation. The T-37 and T-38 weighed only about 3.3 tons maximum load. So as you can probably guess, anybody who follows 06 Walst, that's basically the same thing as the French UE-57, which is a French Tier 3 tank destroyer that weighs only about 3 tons. So that's why you can tell the armor for this was pretty bad. The armor for this is only about 4 millimeters maximum. That's only enough to stop small arms fire. As you know, with the Russians, they came up with the flying tank as well, but unfortunately, the armor and the armaments still were pretty bad. So that's why you see, with tanks like this, by the time the Second World War broke out, basically more of these were used as an artillery tractor, which defeats the purpose of it being an amphibious tank. Now, yes, they did technically use these in the Winter War against Finland, but again, that proved to be basically a disaster, and they were looking to find as many replacements, or any beautiful replacement that they could. Now, you're probably wondering, what is the markings on here? Well, the markings are basically standard Russian designations, or, excuse me, standard Russian. As you see, it has like the dark ivy green, which basically they still used in Finland, and they still hadn't really learned a lot of those lessons at the time, which is why when you see a lot of those, when you see a lot of the reports, basically no Russian tanks had camouflage. The only markings that they had is this white ring that you see around the turret. Now, this white ring is basically to designate that it's a friendly, so that basically any friendlies that accidentally try to shoot at it will see these white markings and will know that it's friendly. Of course, there are many different uses of this. Like, for example, the Allies had the Allied White Star, or the Germans had the Balkenkreise. But basically, to rate this is probably one of the worst obsolete tanks used by the time the Second World broke out ever. Having a tank being used more as an artillery tractor, yeah, that basically defeats the purpose of it being a tank. So, second in our list today, we bring in this vehicle. What is this vehicle? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the successor to the T-37 and T-38, the T-40. Now, this was also, as you can clearly see, this is also an amphibious light tank. Compared to the T-37, this came out in 1941 when it entered service. This was still pretty bad. Its armor was only about 14 millimeters thick, and it weighed only about 5.8 tons full load. And its armament was the 12.7 millimeter Dushka, the Russian heavy machine gun. Although, I should say, it was probably somewhat of a stopgap, they still wanted to keep it amphibious. Seeing a tank like this, seeing the shape, I'm not exactly sure how this would have necessarily worked better than the T-37 at being amphibious, but it makes me to wonder just what exactly were they thinking. Now, I'm sure all of you who recognize this from my cruise vlog videos, you'll know that this is very special because it's a rare limited edition, but anyway, it also comes to mind, it makes me think, tell me, anybody who follows, like, World of Tanks and whatnot, what do you think about this? There was a special type of T-38, I think it was called the T-38 VT or something, I'd have to check, but how about this? Create these as new little autocannon firing Tier 3 Russian light tanks. Ever think about that? Because this has a 50 cal machine gun, although you'd probably have to put that down at Tier 2 with the T7 combat car and the Vickers Mark 6C. But then again, you can put these tanks in, and you could basically create a Russian version of the Panzer 1C. Although, frankly, anybody of the Shenanigan Battalion, I'll leave the final judgment up to you, because you guys know how to play that thing. So, basically, that's it for this pre-cruise vlog, and this is going to be for my, my start of, basically, the Tank Commander's Guide to the most pathetic, useless, and obsolete tanks of World War II. And I'll leave the list of tanks in the description box below of what are the options for the next videos, and the list will continue to get smaller and smaller each time we have the video. So everybody feel free to leave a like, and make sure to comment so you can put your vote in there. And if anybody has a like for a certain type of tank, feel free to mark it. And again, I say please read the description box. So if you want to know about this, make sure you read the description box for your choices. So, everybody, this is basically one of my last videos of 2019, so I will see you all in the next one, and see you in 5 days for the next pre-cruise vlog. Peace.